So let's talk about contingencies. You know, those little things that buyers like that sellers hate? This is Ron Wysokarski at Wise Home Team Realty, and I'm going to give you 3 things to think about when you make a contingent offer. So you're ready to buy a house and make an offer with some contingencies. You see, buyers love contingencies because it protects them. We want to have things like long inspection periods and long periods to get our mortgage in place. And maybe we want to sell a house and we want to guarantee that we don't have to move forward if our house doesn't sell, and all these other things that we like to throw in there because we want to stack the deck in our favor as buyers to make it bulletproof that we can get out even up to the very last second on a deal. Except for the sellers really don't like that. And it could cost you money, or even worse, cost you the house that you really want. And I don't think that's what you want. So the first thing is, let's make sure that our contingencies are realistic and make sense to the seller. You know, the genesis of a good deal or a great deal is one that the buyer and seller both get what they want. You know, both can win. There does not have to be a winner and loser. A seller is going to expect that you're going to want to inspect the house. And it's completely reasonable to ask for an inspection period. And somewhere between 7 and 10 days, maybe 15, that's going to be really the outer boundary of inspections. I don't think 30 or 40 days for inspections is going to fly. So let's keep it within that. And then the other thing is, if you're financing, 30 days is very common and accepted for that. If it's going to be a government mortgage like a VA or an FHA, 40 or 45 days is probably your outer limit on that. And I gotta believe if you're making an offer and the only contingencies you have are for inspections and the loan approval, that's your garden variety stuff, and that's pretty easy. Now, we are currently in a low inventory situation and sellers are getting multiple offers, so we need to be competitive. So by all means, put in any contingency that you need and want, but make sure that you understand that you may or may not get the house that you're looking for. Now, the second thing is, well, what's an unreasonable contingency? Well, unreasonable could be unfavorable. Let's suppose that you want to make an offer on the house and you say it's a full price offer. Well, that's great, but we need 3% of the purchase price for closing costs or more. Well, if it's a $300,000 house, that 3% is $9,000. So for you, you're offering full price. But when you ask for $9,000 back, a little bit of math, 300 minus 9 is 291. Sure feels like it's 291 to the seller. So the seller doesn't feel that it's full price. They might ask you to, well, hey, give us 310 and we'll give you 10 back or some number like that. The seller's going to want to net a certain amount, you're going to want to pay a certain amount. If you're saying it's full price, it really isn't full price. Now, these deals happen all the time. Just keep in mind that if you artificially inflate the price to the 305 or 310, if it doesn't appraise, you can only get your financing based on the appraisal value. So if it's a $300,000 house and appraised at 300 and you wrote it up at 305, if you're doing a 5% down payment, it's $15,000. You're gonna have to add in the missing $5,000 for the shortage of the appraisal. Your down payment would then become $20,000, but you can still do the deal. If the appraisal comes in light, you could ask the seller to reduce the price, and they're gonna say, well, sure, I'll reduce the price, and we'll reduce your $9,000 to $4,000. So you can do that too. Now, what's less reasonable? Well, geez, I want 15 days for inspections, 45 days for loan approval. The property has to appraise, and you need to pay me $10,000 for closing costs. Oh, and by the way, I haven't put my house on the market yet, but I'm sure it'll sell really fast. So this whole thing is contingent upon my house has got to sell and close before this one, because I need that money for my down payment. And it's not enough for my closing costs, but I don't have anything in the bank for a down payment. So if that house doesn't sell, we don't have a deal. Now you're really pushing the envelope. So when you have a deal with 4 contingencies in there or 4 things, you're asking the seller to do 4 savers, you're going to pay a premium on price because that's a lot of favors. And in a hot market, the seller's likely to have all their options. And if they have other options, they're probably going to take them because that's a lot of contingencies. Think of it this way. If you were the seller of the house, would you sign up for 4 contingencies? Probably not. But if you did, you'd be like, hey, I'll give you the 4 contingencies, but sure, you're gonna pay my price. But if you're insistent or just have to have all these contingencies, just know the outcomes. Work it out with a local professional. It's done all the time. It's not as hard as it sounds, but if you're not aware of these things and you don't realize the impact to the person on the other side, you might just lose a deal, or it might fall apart if we're not all on the same page. So we're here to set the expectation. Those are the 3 things I would watch out for on the contingency side, and now you know just how to do it. If you'd like some help doing it, well, we would love to help you out. Click or comment below. or just check us out online at ronsellsthebeach.com, and we would love to walk you through the process and make it seamless from start to finish. This is Ron Wysakarski, and that's what we have for you today on how to do a contingent deal.